let's talk about our Earth. Gaia. What she represents, how the system can work in a physical sense. I mean, unless you've got intellect, it's very difficult to know how the Earth works. So, ignorance is not bliss. The best thing to be is put some light into things you don't know. Now, coming from an angle, and an angle is always an angle of light. Angle is angel. And if I'm coming from an angle, it means I'm coming from the side of my light. So it's like the six blind men and the elephant. So if I'm sitting on one side, I feel the elephant, it will feel different from someone on the other side. If I'm holding the foot, he's holding the tusk. We'll both say we're holding something different, but it's the same object. And these are the angles of light, explaining about the same thing, but just from my perspective, my angle. So that's what an angle of light is. So let me talk to you on how the sun's in the sky, how the moon's in the sky, and how all the planets are. But there's one thing we have to always remember. Normally when I express myself on one written rule. Whatever you see here physically has to exist in the other realms until you get so high up you meet the Lord. Because it all stems from that one single point. Start. Okay? If you're able to, they call it out and back. So when you cycle, if you're able to go from your home, cycle around and do a whole loop, and your start is the same as your finish, that's heaven. If you're able to do it all the way up, you'll be able to go all the way around and you can see it. Now with this in context, the sun, the moon and the planets, the wandering stars, they have out and back. They have out and back. Yeah, they are from home and then they reach out down to us and then they loop back. And it's the same on circuit boards. So like if you've got a car, all electrical wires. Now all the electrical wires are ropes of Christ consciousness, because if I'm following a car and he brakes, he's telling me, that person in the car is telling me that he's braking. So now I'm aware that he's braking, but deep down, that's the Lord. That's the Lord telling me with his rope of energy, because he exists in that circuit. He does. So like the car has a circuit, and on that circuit is lights, but the circuit is always there. Okay? It's the same as you. You have circuits inside of you, which I call them ropes of Christ consciousness, and a great conductor for that is water, and hence the reason why you got water inside of you, because you'll be a great conductor of it. And your circuit is all about out and back. So from the heart, there's a circuit. It goes from the home, because it starts from the heart. Always starts from the heart. Your thoughts, feelings, your light energy, your breath, everything. The heart needs it. It needs it. When you die, or when you need to have CPR, what's the first thing they do? Pump. It's the heart. Because it's a circuit, see? And if the circuit's broken, Christ can't be inside of you. So that you live in a different dimension. And depending on what your good works are, you have a new home. You'll be born into a new home. But deep down, your true home, your true home, is back to the source. So like, it's almost like riding from your house on your push bike from the start and cycling around the world until you get back to your house. So the start and the finish are the same points. However, if I cycle 100 miles, my next start, the next day, is going to be a different point, but it's on the same route. And then I jump back on my bike and I cycle another 100 miles. My start is starting a different point. So these are the different realities. So when you die, even though your start was at the start point of home, that's home. That's home. And you can borrow different places for homes for a night when you're resting to go back on your push bike and ride again. But every day your start point will be the same until you finally finish at home. Start point different, finish point different until you make it home. And different ones will have different experiences. So you might have a mountain that you've got to ride up. And the next day might be a coastal road. And the next day might be raining or too much sunlight. You're going through all the different elements. And all your start and finish points are all different. These are the different dimensions. Remember what I say. The kingdom of heaven, or the kingdoms of heaven, in a physical form are here already. They're physical, they're matter. So, stars in the sky, planets in the skies. I should say more the wandering planets in the skies. So these are the moon, not the stars, sun, and planets. They come from home, and they loop to us, and they loop back home. Okay? And they exist in all the different dimensions, in different ways, different forms. We see them as physicals because we're living in physical, but in a different realm, we would see it more spiritual. Some of you could be from part of these different parts of the planets. You could have existed on them. They're just different dimensions. That's all. But what I wanted to turn around and say is that the sun, as you see it, is like, have you ever dissected an eyeball? So like in the eyeball, what you will see in a physical sense, because remember we're going physical, is that the eye inside is dark in the middle, the pupil, as we all know, and then you've got colour around, or a certain colour, and then it's white after that. But I want you guys to look at it like this, is that in the eye, how many receptors have you got? How many wires or ropes, blood vessels have you got there? And they're all about information, sucking up the information and drawing it up. It's always about drawing it up. So the sun is like an eye, okay? And in the middle of the eye, where the vessels all come together and they go upwards. So if the eye is facing down and I'm holding it in my hand, an eyeball with all of the ropes and vessels, I'm holding it upside down. So the eye is facing down. I've dissected it. I've got it in my hand. Yeah, and it's liquid, it's loose. But what you'll notice is that all the receptors are going upwards. They're going somewhere. Yeah? No different from a car. They're all plugged into the battery and they're all doing their things. They've got a computer on board, which is like the brain, and they've got a heart there, which is like the battery. Okay? The battery and the pump is the heart, always is. And the brain is always the computer. So you have this eye-looking thing, which is always feeding something. giving information back, always taking information and going. But the thing is, you have an eye inside of another eye, inside of another eye, inside another eye. Now this is where the planets live. Each eye is connected home. So that spot you see in the sky, in a physical sense, is the eye. Now each one goes all the way home, but each one has a different purpose. So, for example, the eye that we can see in the sky, so the sun, we see the pupil of the sun. That's what we would see. And then after that, there'd be like a tunnel. We think of a physical sense, thinking of the eye, there'd be a tunnel, which is like a portal, and they go all the way up until it goes to the one. Yeah? And then it will branch around. It will go all the way around as like an egg. So it will go underneath the earth. Okay? So this eyeball that you can see, the pupil, it will feed back, go all the way up, and in this eye will house all the planets. And they will have their own eyes. Okay, so you've got this receptor sending all this information back. The sun is the biggest one out of all of them. And then you'd have the moon, which is smaller, and that will live inside of the eye of the sun. And in there as well, you will have Jupiter, which will be bigger than the moon. So it's a bigger. And then you have Saturn, you have Pluto, but each one has a massive circle around the Earth, and each one feeds back. And there's a portal at the top, and there's a portal at the bottom. Yeah, so there's two. It's like watching an egg grow with a chicken in it, and you see, if you put it under light, you can instantly see the ropes going to the chick, and then you start to see growth. You see red, and it starts to beat, and they see a little heartbeat, and then it starts to grow itself. But it grows itself from a vortex. So we come into that. We come in through the womb, okay, of Earth. Earth is a womb. So when we land here, we become physical. But for us to manifest our body, we have to come in as a physical sense. So like in my mind, you have to look at it physical, because it makes more sense when you look at it more physical. If our eyes work like they do, and we have all these different organs inside of us, all of them, and then we've got like a bag of skin which holds us all together, and then you've got the bone. So each planet, each energy that we have, each element has its job to do. So each one has to be conscious. But what the best thing is that you're able to carry on living without recognizing what's going on. So you know that you become the observer of the whole world, because everything's done for you. Everything's done for you. You know, it's almost having your body, and you turn up in your body at 30 years old, and you haven't got the user manual anymore. There's no usual manual that we can look at on how this system works, because it does it for you. All it does, it can teach you that it doesn't like something, or it does like something. If you have traumas in your life, how you hold on to the traumas, how the cells feel, right? Because all the cells inside of the body are Christ consciousness, and you turn off some of the receptors because something's happened to you. You don't want to go down that road because you didn't like how it felt. But there was something that you needed to learn down that road. You know, because you're always feeding back. Now, it's up to you if you turn off talking to the Lord, That's up to you. But what I suggest you do is do turn on, because he's more powerful than you ever realise. You know? A lot of people don't have much faith. But you got eyeballs among eyeballs among eyeballs among eyeballs. Okay? And in them eyeballs are the planets. And each one's got its job to do. And they're the angels. Maybe that's why angels are known to have loads of eyes. Because they are, in a physical sense, the eyeball. So the sun has an eyeball, the moon has an eyeball. They all have. But we see them physically. But people exist in my head when I'm asleep. So that's a spiritual existence. So you can't just have physical existence. You have to have spiritual existence where consciousness lives. So that's why I kind of wanted to explain to you today that when we look at it physically, we're just explaining it, you know, like, it's like for the first time you come down and you watch someone run. For the first time you go, oh, that's easy, just puts one leg in front of the other. But you forget about what the whole body's doing. What the whole body's doing. I mean, you can even go into books now and they try to explain exactly what the body's doing. Yeah? And then they start to say, oh, you know, like the blood pumps here, then it's doing this, and it's making that act like that, it's making... But again, they're not talking about how the cells are talking to each other. How the person has experienced what he experienced. How that person got the drive to go and run or do something. They're not explaining that. Where did that come from? See, they always go with just the physicalness. And that's great. But when you die, like if you pick up a stone and drop it, you drop. The body drops because it's matter. And then you go through the portal of the eyes. You do. You go through the portals. There's nowhere you can hide. Because now you become conscious. Just consciousness. So the next time you see the sun, that is an eye, but it's a wormhole, it's a portal, the same as your eyes inside your head. You are portals of information, and your information feeds back. You can't physically see the information going back because you are portal eyes. They're the same. Love you. Love, live, and empathize, guys. Take care.